everyone, welcome back to Green Book Chapter 7. We're going to continue practicing gerunds today a little bit, but first, hi, glad you're here. So let's go ahead and dive in. Let's review gerunds. All right, so gerunds are something in English that we use to talk about an action as an activity. They look just like a verb with ing, but we actually treat them and use them as nouns. So talking about activities in general, but using the ing ending, okay? Vamos a repasar brevemente los gerundios. Entonces, acuérdate, los gerundios se parecen a los verbos con ing, pero los utilizamos de una manera muy diferente. Se usan los gerundios para identificar una acción como actividad. So here's an example of a gerund. Singing sad songs is Adele's favorite thing to do. So in that example, singing is actually the subject of the sentence and it refers to cantar in general, right? So that is one way we can use gerunds as the subject of a sentence, and we're actually practicing combining gerunds with certain verbs. Acuérdate que aplicamos estas combinaciones que estamos aprendiendo de verbos con infinitivos, con gerundios o con los dos. Esas combinaciones aplican a cualquier tiempo de verbo. Entonces, por eso sí es correcto decir we're practicing combining, aunque sí se escucha un poquito raro poner dos palabras con ing en secuencia. Now let's get started with a little warm-up. Ahora vamos a hacer un ejercicio de calentamiento. To do this warm-up, you'll want to make some little cards and you'll need to have your verb combinations list next to you. Notice that here I have two piles. In one pile, I have these cards with the verbs from our Chapter 7 list, and in the other, I have some infinitives and gerunds. You can look at the textbook and workbook pages to find examples of verbs to use for this pile, or you can just write down whatever comes to mind. Si la carta al lado derecho combina con el verbo, como estos dos, aparta la pareja y sigue con la siguiente pareja de cartas. Pero si el verbo y la carta de la derecha no combinan, descártala. Y tampoco este. Y revisa la carta que sigue en el montón de infinitivos y gerundios y sigues hasta que encuentras pues una carta aquí que tiene una palabra que sí combina con el verbo, como ya hicimos. Remember that some of the verbs from our list can combine with both infinitives and gerunds. So this verb, for example, we can use with this infinitive and with this gerund. Next, we'll work on pages 86 and 87 in the textbook. So what do we need to do first? Check your list. Check your list of verb combinations. On these pages, we'll be working on 3 verbs: start, learn, and practice. Now let's do a few examples together.
Okay. How did you learn to swim so well?
Well, I started to swim when I was young, and I've been swimming ever since.
I envy you. I've never swum before.
I'll be glad to teach you how.
Thank you, but isn't swimming very difficult?
Not at all. After you practice swimming a few times, you'll probably swim as well as I do.
Okay.
Alrighty.
Number 1. How did you learn to draw so well?
Well, I started drawing when I was young, and I've been drawing ever since.
I envy you. I've never drawn before.
I'll be glad to teach you how.
But isn't drawing very difficult?
Not at all. After you practice drawing a few times, you'll probably draw as well as I do. All right, now it's your turn. Finish the examples on page 87. Make sure you do number 6, create your own situation. And you could even create several conversations for number 6 for a little bit more practice. One more thing, remember that a great way to do the exercises on these pages is to call a friend from class and you can work on it together. Three more verbs. Decide, consider, and think about. And guess what you're going to do first? Check your list. Always check your list, okay? Let's read the model and do an example together.
Okay. Guess what I've decided to do?
What?
I've decided to get married.
That's wonderful. How long have you been thinking about getting married?
For a long time. Actually, I considered getting married a few years ago, but never did.
Well, I think you're making the right decision. Getting married is a great idea.
Okay.
Okay, number 1. Guess what I've decided to do?
What?
I've decided to get a dog.
That's wonderful. How long have you been thinking about getting a dog?
For a long time, actually. I considered getting a dog a few years ago, but never did.
Well, I think you're making the right decision. Getting a dog is a great idea.
We did it. Yes. One more thought before we go. I know it's not super interesting to study a list of verb combinations, but native English speakers have a really natural instinct for when to combine each of these verbs with infinitives, gerunds, or both. So, as you are practicing these verb combinations, and more importantly, as you apply them in context, you're trying to develop a habit or reflex of when and how to use them. You can use these cards we made for the starter activity for the warm-up throughout the week to keep studying. Also do pages 81 to 84 in your workbook. All right. Remember, if you have any questions about today's lesson, leave us a comment below here. And make sure you join the Green Book meeting, Zoom meeting for this week.